I care about this league, this game, and every single player who makes the WNBA what it is. So we value feedback, we listen to criticism, we remain committed to...
Picture yourself holding a pen over a contract that guarantees you $20 million in cash while your current employer pays you under $80,000 per year, and then calmly pushing the agreement back across the table without signing it. It sounds like complete financial madness, the sort of unbelievable choice that would have top talent agents yelling into their phones behind closed doors. Yet when Caitlin Clark rejected a historic, groundbreaking off-season offer that would have immediately made her the highest-paid female team athlete in the world, she never hesitated for even a moment. What followed that quiet rejection triggered an unprecedented executive meltdown inside the highest levels of professional women's basketball, sparking a massive wave of panic that shook the entire sports business world to its foundation. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Angelbert and the league's top executives reportedly rushed into emergency crisis meetings, desperately attempting to contain the fallout from a decision that no one in corporate America expected. The sheer audacity of a first-year rookie setting her own terms within a multi-billion-dollar sports ecosystem disrupted every long-established rule of athlete management. But that was only part of the story. When reports first surfaced that groundbreaking off-season leagues and major entertainment organizations were assembling an astonishing $20 million compensation package to bring Clark onto their court, the sports industry believed the deal was already finished. For decades, female professional basketball players had been trapped in a demanding, unavoidable financial cycle. To earn a comfortable income, they regularly traveled overseas during the winter to compete in countries such as Russia, Turkey, and China. They endured exhausting schedules, sacrificed valuable recovery time, and risked career-threatening injuries simply to earn mid-six-figure salaries while wearing themselves down throughout the entire year. Then Clark arrived, a generational superstar who single-handedly reshaped the sport's entire commercial landscape by breaking television viewership records, filling NBA-sized arenas nationwide, and attracting unprecedented corporate investment into women's basketball. Even so, because of the league's strict collective bargaining agreement, her base rookie salary remained capped at approximately $76,000. When competing organizations presented a $20 million offer to eliminate that financial imbalance overnight, industry insiders assumed her signature was inevitable. Instead, Clark shut the folder, turned down the proposal, and walked away, leaving corporate boardrooms and front office executives utterly stunned. But what happened afterward shocked everyone. Behind closed doors at the league's Manhattan headquarters, the atmosphere quickly changed from celebrating her remarkable rookie accomplishments to complete organizational panic. League officials realized that Clark had become the driving force behind their extraordinary financial surge, fueling soaring broadcast rights valuations, record-setting merchandise sales, and unprecedented ticket revenue in every city where she played. However, if Clark had accepted a staggering $20 million payment from an independent third-party organization or a competing off-season league, she would have immediately possessed greater financial influence and brand control than the NBA itself. Leaked internal reports suggested that Commissioner Kathy Angelbert was absolutely outraged, recognizing that the league establishment was quickly losing its grip over the face of the sport. The underlying corporate anxiety was immense. If one rookie demonstrated that she could completely sidestep the traditional league system, negotiate enormous earnings on her own terms, and function as an independent media powerhouse, the league's entire salary cap structure and contract control system would begin to unravel. Board members realized they were no longer dealing with merely an elite rookie point guard, but with an economic force that held all the leverage and did not require anyone's permission to play the game. And the tension was only beginning. While corporate executives conducted intense late-night strategy meetings, the response inside locker rooms throughout the country became just as explosive. For decades, veteran players had sacrificed their bodies, fought for gradual pay raises, and pushed for basic travel improvements such as charter flights. Many established stars believed Clark was receiving unmatched media attention and corporate support without first paying her dues at the professional level. When reports emerged that she had rejected $20 million, a figure larger than the combined payrolls of several teams, resentment and jealousy spilled into public view. Anonymous sources within player circles began circulating hostile narratives to sports media, claiming that Clark was acting as though she was bigger than the game itself while ignoring the historic efforts of the legends who had paved the way. Opposing players challenged her with extremely physical play on the court, while commentators delivered sharp, passive-aggressive remarks during press conferences. The public narrative attempted to portray her structural independence as arrogance, creating a high-pressure environment intended to force the young star back into line. But that was not the complete story. To fully understand why Clark walked away from an amount of money capable of changing generations of lives, you have to look beyond the immediate paycheck and examine the long-term master plan developed by her inner circle. Clark and her advisors understood a fundamental principle of elite branding that the establishment completely missed. Physical exhaustion and constant overexposure are the fastest ways to damage a lasting legacy. Playing through a non-stop 40-game WNBA season and then immediately moving into an intense winter league would wear down her physical health and reduce her peak level of performance on the court. Clark had already secured massive, historic long-term endorsement agreements with global brands such as Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, Wilson, and Buick, deals filled with long-term equity, worldwide marketing campaigns, and royalty opportunities that far exceeded traditional playing contracts. Accepting a temporary $20 million payment to compete in an unproven tournament meant exposing herself to injury risks that could threaten hundreds of millions of dollars in future corporate opportunities. By choosing physical recovery, focused private training, and complete brand scarcity, Clark executed a calm, calculated power move that protected her long-term value. And that carefully planned rejection sent her critics into a complete frenzy. The venture capitalists and entertainment executives who assembled the $20 million package were left with unsigned contracts and enormous public anticipation, but no headline player to justify it. Promoters who had marketed groundbreaking 3-on-3 formats, celebrity tournaments, and primetime streaming agreements suddenly discovered that without Clark's name leading the event, their financial forecasts completely collapsed. Executives desperately attempted to rescue the venture by offering equity ownership, private jet transportation, performance incentives, and full editorial control over broadcast presentations. Even so, every improved proposal received the exact same courteous yet unwavering rejection from Clark's representatives. The collapse of these high-stakes negotiations sent shockwaves across the sports investment industry, demonstrating that immediate cash could not buy direct access to the most valuable athlete in women's basketball. Outside investors openly questioned whether these emerging leagues could survive without her involvement, throwing multimillion-dollar funding rounds into complete uncertainty. And what happened afterward stunned everyone. As the full impact of her decision spread throughout the industry, a quiet media smear campaign began taking shape across sports talk shows and online publications. Carefully timed leaks from anonymous executive sources started questioning Clark's dedication to growing the game, portraying her refusal as a lost opportunity to elevate fellow players and support female-led business ventures. Television pundits argued that by declining the offer, she was depriving other athletes of the economic momentum that her presence would have brought to winter leagues. The corporate narrative was intentionally designed to place the burden of an entire financial transformation in professional sports directly on Clark's shoulders, attempting to pressure her into compliance through public guilt. However, Clark remained completely unfazed, refusing to release defensive public comments, engage in social media arguments, or respond to provocative questions from the media. She stayed entirely silent, allowing her team to manage the business framework while she disappeared into private training facilities. By refusing to give her critics any emotional response, she made every public pressure tactic completely ineffective. But the executive panic was far from finished. The high-stakes confrontation exposed a major flaw in the way traditional professional sports leagues attempt to manage transcendent, culture-changing talent. For nearly 50 years, established sports organizations had operated under the belief that athletes depended on the league structure far more than the league depended on any individual player. Clark completely reversed that power dynamic in less than 12 months, proving that modern superstar athletes can build direct relationships with fans through digital media, personal excellence, and global brand partnerships. WNBA leadership was forced to face the uncomfortable reality that its salary caps, administrative limitations, and outdated marketing systems were completely unprepared for an athlete whose personal economic influence extended beyond the operational reach of the organization itself. The commissioner's reported frustration was not merely about a rejected contract. It reflected the difficult realization that the traditional corporate playbook had become entirely outdated because of a 22-year-old rookie. And what happened afterwards stunned everyone. Once the initial dust settled, the business landscape surrounding professional women's athletics had been permanently transformed. Fortune 500 companies and global entertainment brands recognized that traditional league sponsorships were no longer the only, or even the most effective method of reaching massive audiences. Major corporations began bypassing league offices altogether, negotiating direct multimillion-dollar partnerships with Clark while securing exclusive media rights, custom product lines, and worldwide advertising campaigns built entirely around her image. This shift forced top league executives to completely rethink their commercial strategy, realizing that attempting to suppress or limit their biggest star was actively damaging their own long-term growth. The debate surrounding rookie compensation, off-season participation, and individual athlete autonomy reached a boiling point that would inevitably reshape future labor negotiations and redefine how the next generation of athletes structures professional contracts. Clark's decision to reject a quick $20 million payday delivered a powerful message to sports executives worldwide. The era of complete corporate control is over. Behind the scenes, the financial consequences of her choice began affecting rival leagues and potential investors who had relied on her star power to validate their business models. Without Clark serving as the headline attraction, prospective television networks lowered their rights fee offers for alternative off-season tournaments, forcing organizers to reduce the scale of their operations, postpone venue reservations, and decrease payout guarantees for other participating players. The reality became impossible to ignore. Clark was not simply another player on a roster. She was the central economic engine of the entire sport. League insiders admitted privately that the tension between Clark's management team and top WNBA officials had permanently changed front office dynamics. The league was forced to speed up plans for improved travel accommodations, charter flights, and upgraded venues simply to keep pace with the enormous crowds and heightened security demands that followed Clark wherever she played. Every arena that hosted her experienced record-breaking concession revenue, merchandise shortages, and expanded security operations, further demonstrating that her financial impact was unlike anything previously seen in the history of women's athletics. But that was not the end of the story. Meanwhile, media analysts began examining the wider significance of her corporate independence, pointing out that Clark had effectively created a blueprint for future sports icons. By placing her physical health, brand integrity, and long-term equity ahead of immediate cash offers, she established a new standard for how elite athletes should navigate predatory contract structures. Corporate sponsors responded by increasing their investment in her personal brand, launching nationwide billboard campaigns, exclusive commercial spots during major NFL broadcasts, and signature product lines that sold out within seconds of becoming available. The sheer scale of her commercial success demonstrated that an athlete does not need to compete 12 months a year to remain globally relevant. In fact, her absence during the off-season generated an extraordinary level of anticipation for her return to the court. Every time she stepped away from the public spotlight, her market value actually increased, proving that strategic scarcity carries far greater power than constant exposure. And that reality infuriated her corporate critics. When rival executives made one final attempt to approach her team with an even larger restructured financial package, including direct equity, media network rights, and private investment funds, the response remained exactly the same. Clark's team made it unmistakably clear that her priority was reclaiming her physical strength, dominating on the basketball court, and maintaining complete control over the long-term direction of her career. That rejection marked a significant paradigm shift within the sports business world, proving that real leverage is not determined by how much money is placed in front of you, but by having the financial security and structural independence to decline offers that do not align with your ultimate vision. League administrators who had once expected to control her commercial narrative had no choice but to adapt to her terms, rebuilding their entire marketing strategy around a player who refused to be owned, managed, or pressured by corporate threats. As the basketball world braces for the lasting effects of this historic power struggle, one undeniable truth rises above all the noise. Caitlin Clark did not simply turn down $20 million. She shattered the long-standing belief that female athletes must accept the limitations imposed by traditional league structures. Her bold decision established the foundation for a future in which players truly control their own value, forcing corporate executives, league commissioners, and multi-billion-dollar media companies to recognize that the real power belongs to the athletes on the court. The executive meltdowns, boardroom panic, and hostile media narratives were merely the desperate responses of an old establishment struggling to preserve a power structure that has officially disappeared. Clark proved to the world that when you possess ultimate leverage, you do not follow the rules, you create them. Now the biggest question remains. Will traditional sports leagues adjust to this unstoppable shift in player leverage? Or will their determined efforts to maintain control ignite a conflict that reshapes professional sports forever? Imagine holding a pen above a contract guaranteeing you $20 million in cash while your actual employer pays you less than $80,000 per year, then calmly sliding that agreement back across the glass table without signing your name. It sounds like complete financial insanity, the kind of unbelievable decision that leaves elite talent agents shouting into their phones behind closed doors. Yet when Caitlin Clark rejected a historic, earth-shattering off-season offer that would have instantly made her the highest-paid female team athlete in the world, she did not hesitate for even a moment. That quiet refusal was followed by an unprecedented executive uproar inside the highest levels of professional women's basketball, triggering a massive wave of panic that shook the entire sports business establishment to its core. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and the league's top executives reportedly entered emergency crisis meetings, desperately trying to manage the fallout from a decision that no one in corporate America expected. The sheer confidence of a first-year rookie establishing her own terms within a multi-billion-dollar sports ecosystem disrupted every traditional principle of athlete management. But that was only part of the story. When reports first emerged that groundbreaking off-season leagues and major entertainment organizations were assembling an astonishing $20 million compensation package to bring Clark onto their court, the sports world assumed the deal was already complete. For decades, female professional basketball players had been trapped in a demanding, unavoidable financial cycle. To earn a comfortable income, they routinely traveled overseas during the winter to compete in countries such as Russia, Turkey, and China. They endured punishing schedules, sacrificed valuable recovery time, and risked career-threatening injuries simply to earn mid-six-figure salaries while exhausting themselves year-round. Then Clark arrived, a generational superstar who single-handedly transformed the sports commercial landscape by breaking television viewership records, filling NBA-sized arenas across the country, and attracting unprecedented corporate investment into women's basketball. Yet because of the league's strict collective bargaining agreement, her actual base salary as a rookie remained capped at approximately